Hey guys, what I'd like to do in this video today is talk about my setup briefly and then talk about how you can manage OBS more effectively using scenes. Now I have a total of 6 video capture devices. I actually use 3 in this main setup, one for my main camera, one for my overhead camera, and one for recording gameplay. And that's what video capture devices can be used for. You can use them to record footage from a camera or from a gaming console. These are the other ones that I've got, and I might actually have to buy more. What I did today was move my Elgato HD 60S Plus from the game streaming area. Instead of plugging it into my game console, I moved it to this main camera. And the reason being that I've kind of been scaling up from 1080p to 4K. That can record at 4K up to 30 frames per second, so it makes more sense. I'll just need to buy a 4K device for my overhead camera. But I changed the cam link from this overhead camera and I changed it to my Magewell, which used to be used here. So I basically just changed the 3 devices that I was using before and I put in the Elgato HD 60S, not the Plus, the S version for recording games. So whilst I was moving things around in OBS, because I had to change the video capture devices, I started playing around with scenes. And that's what I want to show you in this video. I've always been aware of that you can do this with scenes, but I really didn't pay attention to it and I really didn't play around with it. And over time, I'm sure many of you are like this as well, but over time, when you're using OBS, you end up having a very messy collection of scenes and video sources, audio sources, etc. But there's a lot you can do with scenes. Now, I have to give a shout out to this guy here. He's got a channel called Gaming Careers, and I tried to find out his name there, I couldn't see it, but he's got a really good video here about OBS Studio and how to use it. And one of his tips is about using scenes. So a shout out to him. I was inspired to do the scene changes, which I'm about to do and show you by his video. So big shout out to him. I do appreciate his video. So for those of you who don't know, in OBS, as you can see down here, you've got scenes and then you've got sources. And your sources can be anything. It can be the browser. It can be a camera, which I'm recording with right now. It can be a gaming console. It can be anything. But then you've got your scenes, and your scene is basically what is being showed. So right now, this scene is a scene I've called main camera. Then I've got overhead camera. Then I've got Firefox and webcam. And these are all just different scenes that I have created. Now, that's kind of standard, and that's how most people use it. But what most people do is just input the video source. So for example, if I wanted to use my main camera, I would just say, okay, I want to use the HD60S Plus, and I would select that as my main source. Or I could select the Magewell, my overhead camera. So if I select the Magewell USB, there you go. There's the Magewell USB, and I could expand that to the full size. That's the overhead camera. I've got it kind of back to front, which is why it's like that. I always need to transform it and flip it around because the camera's back to front. But that's how easy it is to add a video source. And that's what people normally do. And that's what I did as well. But in OBS, you can organize things a lot better. So I want to show you the changes that I made today. One thing that I did was set up sources. And what I've did is set up a source for each video camera. So you can see here, camera source, main camera. Now what I've done here is I've set up a scene called camera source, main camera, and then I've got Elgato HD 60S Plus. Now, you might be wondering, why do that? Why do that? Why not just add the HD 60S Plus there? Well, the reason is it makes it simpler in the long term, and it just organizes things better, because what I can do is if I ever change to a different video capture card, I don't have to go through 20 different scenes and then change it, each of those scenes, and change it. Okay, change the camera, change the video source from the HD60S to something else. I just go to this one scene and I change it here. And it's the same with the overhead camera. If I use a different source, I change it there. If I use a different source for gameplay, it's not plugged in right now, but that is where I would change it as well. And effectively, what this helps me to do is I change the camera source once rather than changing it 5, 10, or 20 times. Now, what I do then, if you look at my main camera scene, instead of linking the video source, the video capture source as HD60S Plus, which I can do, but instead of doing that, I link to camera source, main camera. That's what I use. And it just makes a lot more sense. It means that I don't have all these, different video sources linked. I used to have different video sources, then I've just deselect the ones that I wasn't using. Now, you can expand this and you can kind of play around with this and be more flexible. For example, here I have, and I'm calling it nested scene main camera as webcam. So what I've done, once again, I'm not using the video source as the HD60S Plus. Instead, I've added a scene, and you just go to scene, and then you can select any of your scenes. And as you can see here, I've got camera source main camera. So what I've done now, I've created a new scene. It's called nested scene main camera as webcam, and I've transformed it. And what I mean by that is I have basically shaved off the edge. You can see I've cropped it 750 there, 1200 to the right, etc., so that I bring in the box. Now, the beauty of that is now I've now got a nested scene. I've got my webcam box. So now when I go to Firefox and webcam, Firefox browser, and I can change back to that one, you can see the scene in the corner. Now that at the end there is that's the nested scene. So really what I have here is Sceneception, starring Leo DiCaprio. But that's really what I have here. I've got the webcam here, or the main camera, but what this is a nested scene, and I can switch it off to show you. The nested scene is, the scene is Firefox and webcam, but then I've got nested scene, which is main camera as webcam, so I'm drawing it from there, and that's drawing the main camera from the source, camera source main camera. So the camera's there, then it's linked there, and then it's linked in Firefox and webcam. Now, the beauty of this is you can have your standardized webcam size and box across all of your scenes. Previously, what would happen would be I'd have a webcam box and a monitor or something else, and I'd have to resize it and try and get everything the same way. And I can actually show you this because there's one scene I've not corrected yet, or two. So look at this one, right? So this one is called gaming monitor, and it's going into the background because I'm showing the monitor that I'm using just now. But you can see Magewell USB, it's the overhead camera. But what I can do is remove that. I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to add a scene. And I will just add nested scene with webcam, if I can find it. There, it's there. Boom, and it's in the correct position. Now that's maybe a little bit distracting because of what's going on in the background, but let's look at my Samsung monitor. It's a widescreen monitor, which is why it's all kind of out the way, and I don't have anything displayed right now. I've got the Logitech Brio, which I don't think is even on. Is it on? I don't think it is. But what I can do is scene, go down, same thing as before, nested scene, and there you go. And what it means now is I can change from Samsung monitor to gaming monitor to Firefox browser, and the box is going to be in the same position every single time. Now, the reason that's good is because previously what I was doing was just adding the webcam as a video source to each of those scenes, and then I'd have to crop each one and try and get it the same position. But it really does make more sense to start using scenes. What I recommend is use a scene for your sources. Each of your video capture cards use a source, and you can do it with browsers, and you can do it with different things as well. Camera source, browser source, etc. And then you can link these and change them in so many different ways. It just organizes things so much better. And I really do recommend doing that. Set up a camera source for your input sources, for your video capture devices. Set up nested scenes. If you're doing a live stream or doing a gaming stream, you might want to set up a scene that's got all your different notifications, and then you can just apply that almost like an overlay on top of your other scenes. I've got another one here as well, green screen main camera. So I've not set this up yet, but you can see it's going to be my green screen, which is down there, and then I'll just adjust it as usual. But you can see again, the camera source is main camera. I'm not linking directly to the video capture device, I am linking to the scene. So I've got scenes linking to scenes, linking to scenes, and it sounds a little bit silly, but what you're actually doing is reducing the number of different scenes and different video sources that you've got. Because if I look down here, for example, I'm trying to find an old one that I've not used in a while. See some of these ones, you can see I've got a lot of different setups, a lot of different devices, Magewell, Logitech Brio, and they're all kind of sitting on top of each other. So I do need to go through all of these, and I need to tidy it up. And I do recommend doing this, guys, because over time with OBS, you'll add a new video source for a particular video. I do it all the time. I'm trying to show something in overhead camera, so I add an overhead camera, and then I crop it in a different way, and then I add something else, then I show the task manager, and then I show a browser, and I show 3 cameras at once. But over time, it becomes very messy, and you've got all these different sources, and it's all messed up. it really does make more sense to organize it with scenes. And you can, color code all this as well if you want, but I would strongly recommend to start using scenes when you're using OBS. Use it for your source, use it for your browser sources, and then use it for nested scenes as well, such as the webcam in the corner. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. As I said, I will link to this video down below because it did inspire me to do these changes. So a big shout out to this guy. He's a really good YouTuber. I like his videos. And if you want to learn more about OBS, I definitely recommend checking out his videos. Even if you're not, doing game streams, I do recommend checking him out. He's got some good tips. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. I hope you've got a better understanding as to what you can do with scenes. I'm really pleased with what I've been doing today. It's going to save me a lot of hassle in the future. And it's going to just help me transition between different scenes in basically in a more practical, more manageable way. But thanks for watching, guys. If you've got any questions, please do post them down below as always. And I will speak to you all in the next one. Take care.